the Bulldogs? Middle school?
Thank you, guys.
Good job. Congratulations.
Hit somebody with the spear.
Nice job. Congratulations.
I can't imagine the level of competition that you have to battle to get to that point to be the national champions. I know you played on some teams that went to state. We might get second or third, but you got to win that. Then you got to go to another competition and another, and what it takes to get to that level is amazing. Great celebration. So item number 4 is the addition to the agenda. Consideration to approve the first reading of an ordinance to reduce the speed limit on a section of Stillwell Road. Mr. Callahan, you presenting that?
Yeah, I'll say, Mr. Chairman, I did do some additional research on this. This original recommendation was to reduce from 55 to 35. It was actually a range of 45, or 55 to 45, but to 35. After speaking with the sheriff, while it is legal to have a reduction of 20 miles per hour, it will never be able to be radar enforced if you make such a large jump. If this is a route that the board wants to go with, I would recommend changing that to 55 to 45 reduction, and then once a traffic study is done and that 45 can be justified, then it could be enforced by radar.
I guess you're saying there could be no prosecution by radar for that speed. You might get for too fast for condition, but that's so easy to debate.
That's right. So you can only, you'll never, as long as you have that jump, that gap between any two locations of 20 miles,
Yeah.
You cannot use radar to enforce
Okay,
it.
and then if it's still an issue after a year or two, we could look at doing 35 because there'd only be a 10-mile jump
That's
at
correct.
that point and could still do radar.
Right,
So-
but you still have to go 55 to 45 to 35.
That's what I'm saying. After we do 45, if they make a motion for that tonight, we could come back with the next radar study
That's
and
right,
go
and
from
see, and
45
see how,
to
and we
35 and do
could
it.
possibly have study.
And then sometime we can change it to 35.
Yeah, if it solves it at 45, the
That's right.
issue, then we're good. If it doesn't, we can come back to 35. Any other discussion?
Well, and I'm just speaking, because I grew up driving this, so I know it. From, what was it, Mingledorf Way
That's that
to
same.
just east of, Log Landing, if that was 45, because it does go back up to 55, but then it drops to 45 and 35 as you approach the S-curve. Because that's a pretty long straightaway between Long Bridge and the S-curve that I don't know that 45's warranted there. That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
I don't.
that's an interesting point, is that you wouldn't want to make, you want to make it from the point at which it's 55, you want to reduce it to 45, but not go you don't want to increase the 35 to 45. So that I didn't realize, but if you want to shrink this down and we have a delineation point, that's all we would need for the resolution.
I mean, I'm guessing the
Well,
concern has
I
been,
think turn 45 after it gets by Log Landing Road, and then before you go to Gate to Howell Farm, it goes back to 35.
yeah, but I think 45 is about where the transmission lines cross, somewhere in there
Yeah,
is where it goes to 45.
but that ain't
That is not far, I know.
that ain't very far.
It's not far.
If you make it to 45, then you'd have it 45 all the way to the power lines, and then it goes to 35. So yeah, that from the subdivision, the depth of part of it's 45 anyway.
That's right,
Yeah.
for
So
the
is it
55 mile an hour
Is it
section.
45 miles per hour at the
So,
Copperfield
yeah.
subdivision?
But it will be
Huh?
45.
Is it already 45 at Copperfield subdivision?
No,
It's
no.
55 in
No.
subdivision.
Okay. Is that the purpose of, I wasn't here for the
I'm
last
thinking
meeting.
I'm thinking it's along Webb's is kind of the biggest concern of
Where,
just when there's
Well,
traffic
Webb's-
there.
Webb's is right after
I know,
past
it
the
is,
subdivision,
yeah.
And it's good log landing.
Well, it's right
road
there on the
comes
corner of
today,
Log
you need it-
Landing.
You need it too.
Yeah.
But then before you get to power lines, it goes to 45, and then before you go to that S curve.
Then it drops to
do
35.
do we need to table this and get some specifics
you
of,
drive at
of
45,
where it begins and ends?
Well, what we can do, if it's okay with the board, unless you all want to bring it back, is simply determine the point, because all we're doing is saying from the beginning of that subdivision to the length of the road where it is 55 miles an hour, we are reducing that to 45 miles an hour. So we know where the beginning is. The end is where it lowers currently to 45 miles an hour. And if you give us that guidance, we can put the delineation point in the ordinance and have you all and to get it signed.
And what I want to avoid, I know some folks on Bethany Road, and I just asked them about their thoughts on it, and they said if that whole stretch was 35, they're just going to take Indigo to Springfield, and that's the last thing we want to do is put more vehicles on Indigo. So I'm trying to. I don't want to cause a problem over here.
but the
you know.
45 ain't but a little short piece of, just before you get to Webb's, and before you get to the power lines, it goes to 45, and that ain't couple hundred yards.
Yeah, but it's 55 from west of Mock Road all the way to the transmission lines is 55 right now. Yeah.
Well, Tim, I think that's a good idea,
I
what
think
you're
it's
talking about.
appropriate. I think 45
Go ahead and do that strip.
in that section, particularly around Webb's, is
Yeah.
Are y'all,
understandable.
Then soon you go by Log Landing Road, it goes to 45.
Mr.
then it
Loper,
goes to
Mr. Kiefer?
35 all the way to Stillwell.
In the interest of time, can you consider what he just suggested, delineate it the way he just said?
I'm sorry.
Tell him what your option was for us to approve.
From the subdivision,
Let him tell us.
Yeah, it's from the subdivision, which is currently listed in the ordinance, the reduction would be from there to the current point where it turns 45 right now, which I believe is at the power lines, maybe just past Log Landing, but we can determine that from the existing documentation. So from the subdivision to where it currently
Transitions to 45 already.
conditions to 45,
Okay.
we would make that reduction.
If that's agreeable with the board, I'll entertain a motion for what he just proposed.
motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr.
So there will be no 55 on the road, is that right?
From the subdivision
Hang on
on,
a second.
correct.
Guys,
Okay.
let me get the clerks in here. What,
So just clarity on what we're doing. So we're still making the change for some span of the road, correct?
Correct.
correct?
So that still requires you to do it by ordinance. So are we revising what is here?
Yes,
Based on
yes, that's what he's gonna make the ordinance match what he just said.
action?
If we give him that leeway to provide an ordinance that matches the language of where the Copperfield subdivision begins,
Copperfield, okay.
Copperfield, to where it already transitions to 45. And that's the motion.
Okay.
Give him the leeway to make that ordinance state that.
And that also is a bicycle trail, that whole road is bicycles, they ride bicycles up and down it all the time.
So it'd be good for reduced
Somebody
speed.
questioned about that the other day when we.
So we had a motion by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Kiefer. Did you second or who? Oh, Mr. Deloach? Okay. We have a motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Hearing no noes, it passes unanimously. So the ordinance will be redone to state that delineation to a 45. Then we can come back if that doesn't solve the issues and look at a 35 later. All right, excuse me, item number 5. The planning board recommends approving an application by Eleanor L. Kent to rezone 6.7 acres located at 1091 4th Street Extension from AR1 to AR2 to allow for creation of 3 home sites, map number 319, parcel number 26 in the first district. This item was postponed from the October 3rd meeting. You want to reintroduce what this was? I wasn't even here, so it helped me.
Yes, sir. Chelsea Fernald, Planner 2. This request is to create 3 home sites for Miss Kent's children. Because none of the proposed lots will meet the 5-acre minimum required for AR1, the entire acreage does need to be rezoned to AR2. This item was tabled due to a concern that the applicant clear-cut the existing vegetative buffer. The applicant has expressed that she is willing to replant that buffer, so staff is recommending approval.
Okay. Any discussion from anyone on the board? Chuck, is this a public hearing? It is. I'll open a public hearing, let you go ahead and share with us.
Good evening. My name is Eleanor Kent, and I do apologize for not being here on October 3rd, oversight on my part, and I appreciate you putting me on the agenda so this issue can be addressed. I got a phone call stating from the commission's office that some trees were cut down from the person who finally purchased some property next door to mine. There was an issue when the land was being cleared because the person that we hired to survey did not survey it properly. He had the land clearer had a difficult time looking for the boundary lines. He did the best that he could using GPS, if you would. And if it's any interest to use, this same surveyor omitted approximately 4 acres from being surveyed. And it took me 3 years to convince the judge at that time that 3 acres, almost 4 acres were missing. How did I find it? Going on Q Public Net, and my name was on it. So I called the judge at that time and asked her, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say that gender, but the judge said, well, if your name's on it, you own it. I said, but I don't have a deed for it. So I'm throwing this out here or sharing it with you because of the challenges we have had with you talking about zoning and what is properly mine. So if you notice on those other parcels to your right, I have to spend more money getting, it's finally divided between 3 heirs, 1 1/3 acre, added to my existing 6.73 acres because of the person we hired. And it has been said that on the left side where the gentleman is making the complaint, some of that is my acreage because it is off from the original estate. So I just wanted to share that. I don't know if it's worth anything, but if I know how many trees I need to replace and what kind, we'll be glad to do that. But just so you know, I'm still not happy with all of this. 3 homes on 4 acres, and I know that's the health department. And my question to him would be, what if I just had 1 acre? I would have to put the septic tank and the well on just 1 acre. Well, I have 4 acres. Why can't I put 4 homes on my 4 acres?
Okay.
For what it's worth.
All right. So I understand you're the applicant making the request for the change, correct?
I just want to give my 3 sons a home.
Gotcha.
And I wanted a 4th one.
Okay.
But I'm told I can only do, and it makes no sense to me. When your laws say that, okay, you need 1 acre to put 1 home, you can put a septic tank and a well, fine. Well, I got 4. Why can't I put 4?
Hang on. Well, no, you're suggesting that we approve this, right, with the conditions of the buffer being reestablished
Yes, sir.
and development services will work with you on that buffer.
Yes, sir.
Okay, are there any other conditions that you've got before the board that we need to list out? I mean, I think the planning board had some too, didn't they?
Let me double check for you, sir.
Is that the only material condition?
So planning board recommended, that a subdivision plat be approved and recorded before the rezoning take place.
Subdivision plat before, has that been done?
They just wanted to make sure that it was recorded, that's part of the typical process.
I got you.
for-
If we
Yes.
approve the zoning night, that'd be done, okay. That and the buffer replaced. I had a question about the road. Are we creating an issue for ourselves again? Because basically you have 4 lots. You have the 3 where your children want to build, and then you have the 4th lot.
The fourth lot, what's it got frontage on up there at the very top?
300 feet, is that the way you're talking about?
Say again?
I think it's 300.
Yeah, the one that, like the L shape is one lot, and then the long, narrow one that's got the easement, that's gonna be the other 3.
Right.
Is there a road there where that L comes off?
Yes, it's called Fourth Street Extension.
Okay, I mean, I don't, if that's a lot, and then the 3 behind it, each 1 acre, if there's easement to them, that's still only,
Okay, so that lot is accessing 4th Street, and the others,
the only 3 that's being subdivided, so it's
There's
still
only
only be
three.
so
3
it
lots.
doesn't
back
qualify as a major subdivision with more than 3 lots?
That's right, that's the reason
Okay,
why.
that's my concern about.
She already got one there that she already.
I'm
got
good.
one of.
I just always want to question, because we've had issues with the road being a private road that way, and then we got to come back later on when you have 4 houses and they say, we want this road paved, and we say, we can't do it, it's private. I don't want to create more of those issues than we have to, but that helps me understand. Okay. All right, any other questions, discussions? How about, is anyone in opposition to this rezoning tonight? Anyone speaking in opposition? All right, seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing. Is there any other discussion or a motion from the board?
I make a motion that we approve with staff and planning board recommendations with the inclusion that you will do replanting some shrubbery or trees, whatever's required in the buffer that was taken down next to the complaint.
Well, how many and what kind? Did he make an
Staff,
argument?
You'll have to,
They'll help you with that. I
Staff
think
will
that's
help you
actually
with
in our
that.
buffer
It's in the
ordinance
It is in our ordinance. There's several, I mean, there's a whole list of things you can choose
of
from.
options.
Plethora of options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
About 1 every 30 feet.
Got a
Yes,
motion by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Deloach. And so what they're saying is that's already established some options that you can do, and they'll help you with that so that you can go ahead and get this platted and rezoned and move forward, letting your children build houses there. Okay? So you have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. So take care of those couple items. Staff will have it set up as rezone for you.
So what should I expect in the future as far as getting it surveyed for the 3 of them? Should I wait for a letter from the?
No, ma'am, I would get with Development Services and ask them for direction how to move forward, since we've already approved the rezoning based on those conditions. They'll walk you through it. If they don't help you, and I know they will, they love to help people. Just give me a holler.
use a reliable surveyor.
Yeah,
Okay, who is this?
you know, he just said use a reliable surveyor, don't use the same one.
Well, we thought this person was.
All righty, we're gonna move to next item. Thank you, ma'am. Item number 6 is the second reading. We didn't add any new conditions, so we can do the second reading to approve the application by Eleanor L. Kent to rezone 6.7 acres located at 1091 4th Street Extension from AR1 to AR2 to allow for the creation of 3 home sites, map number 319, parcel number 26 in the 1st District. Motion?
Make a motion to approve the second reading.
Second. Motion, Mr. Floyd, second, Mr. Burdette, to approve the second reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, second reading passes unanimously. Item number 7, the planning board recommends approving an application by Joa. Did I pronounce that right? Huh?
It's John in Portuguese.
Say-
Just John, just say John.
Just John? Well, that's why they got Joao.
Yeah, you won't.
Oh, I can't say that.
Yeah, I know. Nobody can.
I wouldn't worry about it.
Batista?
Yes, sir.
For a conditional use for a rural business located at 174 Noel Conway Road, map number 352, parcel number 56 in the 1st District. This item was postponed from 10/3/23. We'll reopen the public hearing.
Yes, sir. So, this item, again, was tabled from the October 3rd meeting. Commissioner Floyd has reached out, and spoken with our applicant. I know together they've come up with some secondary conditions. So I'm actually going to let Commissioner Floyd kind of take the floor here because I know he had spoken
Okay.
with them, if
Yeah,
that's
it's
okay.
pretty much what we discussed. This will be my motion whenever we're ready, but it'll be a proof of residency and it's pretty much with the planning board's recommendation, obtain a business license, remove the fuel tank, put a cover or door on that pole barn, and fence from the pole barn over to the house. All trucks will be parked behind that fencing, so it's back. They've got 3 acres. There's plenty of room to put those trucks out of sight back there. No expansion of the fleet, and then give them 90 days to get this done. It's pretty straightforward. They have the acreage. It's just visual, and I think with what we've asked them to do, or what I see as a resolution, it's a pretty easy fix.
One question I had, and I don't know if you can help me how we address this. A rural business is usually for a resident to have a business there. You're not living on this property at this time.
We can if we need to.
We can make it happen. I'm saying we own everything.
We own and we pay all the bills for the whole entire
Well,
thing.
that would be my hindrance to going down the road where we approve a rural business where somebody doesn't actually live on the property.
Right, and
There's a home there, and I've asked them if they can show us that they have proof of residency through a electric bill, driver's license, and they said they can.
That they live there.
That they will live there.
Okay.
For me,
Or the owner will live there, yes.
if I can comment, I think we're trying to make an industrial application out of,
I think if they were working on them, or there's a true business, but just parking there, that's the reason I don't have an issue. If they were building cranes or using the cranes on site, but again, just parking the equipment,
how much equipment are they allowed?
they have 4 trucks.
4 trucks. I mean, that's a small trucking company. If we're gonna do stuff like this, I'd like us to identify what we would allow in what size, but, I mean, these things are 60,000 pounds, 50,000,
No, yeah, 50.
50, I mean, they're bigger than a big truck to me, and I just don't, I don't see this is not the definition for me of a rural business. This
I
is-
understand. I mean, it's
We're
a
trying
little
to
out of
fit
character.
Fit it in
But
there, and
they've been there, did anybody speak at the planning board against this? You know, I agree with you. I don't think our
I don't think we got something
power we
covered.
have at this board is to hurt people, and this would definitely hurt these folks. If they were causing problems for the area, causing problems for the neighborhood, which they are on property, I would probably think differently. But if it's just leaving in the morning and coming back in the evening, I don't really see that it's affecting anybody.
It might set some precedents for me. I mean,
You know,
For
but I
what-
understand.
for what they do, I mean, they really have an advantage, because you could do what you do pretty much anywhere. So you could find a small parcel that you could do maybe even a B3 and put it on there, and it'd be way more suitable than
Well,
trying
the
to do
property's on
residential.
Highway 30. Does it go all the way across to 17?
No.
It's still right there on 30 near that intersection. I mean, if this is denied, they could probably come back and look for commercial. But I'd rather it be conditional and tied to just this and not open it up to being commercial than somebody coming there, a convenience store, want to buy it or something like that. I would rather it be used for this family as a conditional use versus rezoning it. I mean, that's just, I understand. That's just kind of.
I hear what you're saying.
And I appreciate you working with it.
Yeah.
That was really good for you to do that.
And
It's just, I feel like
If
we're
it
trying
was-
to fit something.
harming the neighbors, or I was getting a lot of complaints. And if we get complaints, this could go another way.
But then we're already approved.
So aside from
We can pull it if they're,
It's conditional use. I would think if they violate the conditional use, like noise, sight, or whatever, you could do something.
Mr. Chair, and remember that the business license is an annual process. So if there is something complaint-wise on the business license side, we can always address it by not issuing the business license and bringing it back forward again.
right.
So this property, other than not being zone commercial, it's otherwise in a place it could very easily be commercial on a main.
It could be, I could see it if it came to
And
me as.
I'm not familiar
a
with the area,
request,
so
I
I'm
could
just,
probably
yeah.
support being commercial. There's another piece just a few hundred yards down the road at, Zittrier, on the corner of Zittrier. There's 5 acres there. and that's a stone's throw from these folks.
I see both sides of y'all's
Yeah, no, I do
argument.
too,
It's
but I
tough,
would
you know,
prefer to
yeah.
keep it conditional
know,
and
yeah.
not do a rezoning.
Have you already removed the diesel tank
Yes.
It gets picked up this week.
this week?
They wanted to empty it
He has
first.
the approved.
Yeah, we sent the email where the Colonial sent, they're gonna pick it up. We're trying.
Yeah, my biggest concern was the residential thing.
I mean,
I
it's
think we
four
really
trucks.
circumvented,
You know, we
Real
keep
business if we
running
didn't
into this.
require
I
them
wish
to
we had
live.
something
I
that
know.
would fit
it's
the
not really a
bill.
real business, it's a
And,
business.
but I would limit it to 3 trucks. I mean, if we ever did something like that, and if you guys wanted to do something like that for small business people, because, I mean, if you wanted to limit it to like 3 trucks or something like that,
Do you know how many agricultural properties have
we have tons of.
20 log trucks piled on them right now? I mean, for real.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's a
understand
good
the ordinance,
point.
sometimes just, it's hard to
Yeah.
be
Well, I don't know that we're gonna
100%
gain
compliant.
any more knowledge from the further discussions. I'm gonna say, is anyone tonight speaking against this, request for conditional use? Here, seeing no one, I'm gonna close the public hearing, and I'm gonna entertain a motion.
I make a motion, as I said, to approve with the proof of residency, obtain a business license, removal of the fuel tank, put a door or cover on that pole barn so the, whatever's in there is concealed. Fence for the pole barn to the house. All trucks will be parked behind that fence or where it's not visible from, Highway 30. No expansion of your fleet, and we're gonna give you 90 days to have that complete and come back to staff with that done.
Okay, a motion by Mr. Floyd, second by Mr. Deloach.
Mr. Chairman, they just need to consent on all of those.
Okay,
Does that suit y'all?
and did you get those noted? Okay, do you consent to all those items?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Have a motion and consent, and our clerk has got them written down, so all in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Now, those conditions, some of them I don't think I read in it, so we need to wait for the second reading. But there's some, yeah, so we had to do the second reading at the next, because we added some conditions, sound like from what I heard you share. Okay?
That's a lot of conditions, so I went along with that. If you guys can do that, then
We
be
can.
good neighbors.
All right.
I'm
Your cost
fine
less
with it.
than
Just
move.
trying not to set precedents to where we
We're
got.
trying our hardest.
I know, and you guys are great people, and I wish everybody was like you guys.
Thank y'all so much.
I thank you guys.
Thank you,
Have a good
appreciate
day.
it. And I think that concludes our old business, unless I'm missing something. Unfinished business, and so we move to our new business.
Man,
hard
I
one.
really do.
First item under new business is consideration to approve a proclamation declaring November 5th, 2023 as Retired Educators Day in Georgia. Snuck up on you. No problem. I got to pull it up anyway, so take your time.
Okay, so this is actually a proclamation that you've approved a number of times in the past. The governor also approves a proclamation for this annually. So the proclamation is to celebrate November 5th as Retired Educators Day. And we have some educators present, if you will all come forward.
I recognize some of these educators.
And as they're coming, Mr. Chairman, I'll read it very quickly. The governor of the state of Georgia has proclaimed the day of Sunday, November 5th as Retired Educators Day in Georgia. And whereas there are more than 142,000 retired educators in Georgia, 32,000 plus of them whom are members of the Georgia Retired Educators Association. And whereas the retired educators of Georgia donate thousands of hours of volunteer service and make invaluable contributions to the welfare of their respective communities across the state. And whereas it is appropriate that a day be designated for citizens to express their appreciation for the contributions that retired educators have made and continue to make for the betterment of human lives and for society. And whereas local churches will recognize those lasting contributions made by retired educators in this community. Now, therefore, I, Chairman of Effingham County, do hereby proclaim the day of November 5th, 2023 as Retired Educators Day, and I will call upon the citizens of Effingham County to observe this day in an appropriate manner, honoring retired educators.
Senator Egg, would you like to address the board?
Well, I just want to thank you for proclaiming November 5th Retired Educators Day. We appreciate you recognizing us, and we strive to serve the community that we live in and in which we worked for many, many years. So thank you.
Yep, I live with a retired
Yes, you do.
educator.
Don't you?
And she was also tired.
I think if you look,
Yeah.
my father was an educator. Jamie's wife is,
Right.
and I
That's right.
think Phil, didn't Randy teach or something at one time?
Yes.
Never got to the point of retirement, but.
Well, yeah, we appreciate all of you so much for what you do. We need to figure out a way that when we do these proclamations like this, that we can encourage businesses for that day to give them some kind of off for restaurants or whatever. I mean, we really think about something where it becomes a real, other than just a picture in the paper or an article, that we celebrate as a community these achievements by the athletes earlier, by our teachers. You know, on this day, they get some kind of special privilege from our community. So I'm going to challenge the staff to look at how they could, this day is, when is it scheduled
It's the
for?
first Sunday in November every year.
It would be great to do something in the paper encouraging businesses to, on that day, ask, are you a retired educator? And maybe you go out to eat somewhere and they say
Percentage off
yes.
their meals, percentage off their meals or something.
That day.
Coincides with All Saints Day, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so if the staff could look at that, when there's a proclamation, to put it in the paper prominently where they can see that these athletes for their day, our teachers for their day, can be celebrated by the community as well, it'd be great. Thank you again. Thank
Well,
you so much.
thank you. We appreciate it.
Did you want to get a picture?
Yes, we'd love to get a picture.
Why is that funny?
Okay, everybody hold, we got one more camera. Yes, it is hers, are y'all ready?
There you go.
Yes, you're welcome.
That's great, and if you email it to me, I'll print it out. That's great. Thank you so
If I could, I'd make a motion to approve alternative one for that.
Yep, thank you very much. Let me find my place. All right, motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Deloach. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously. We have so many tough things we have to deal. It's fun to deal with some more celebratory type actions. Item number 2 in the new business is to approve an application by Wesley Sherrod, P.E., for a sketch plan located at 1360 Highway 21 North for Sperry Storage Facility, Zone B1, map number 366, parcel number 39A in the 3rd District.
Yes, sir. At the June 6, 2023 Board of Commissioners meeting, this parcel was rezoned to B1 with the conditional use to allow for an event rental business. This development does show a 60-foot access easement. However, the commercial access for this will be from Highway 21. The buffers surrounding this property are 30 feet per the Effingham County ordinance, with the 10-foot vegetative buffer along Highway 21. Staff recommends approval.
When you say an event,
Stored, it's for equipment like tents for
you're just gonna
events.
store the event equipment there.
Yeah,
It's
not
gonna be used as an
actual
event
events
venue.
there. The only customers they will have
All I
are
need to know.
wedding
That's-
planners, that sort of thing.
So event venue, I thought 5 or 6 parking spots for an event. I don't think that's gonna
Yes,
fly.
sir, sorry.
Okay, I'm good. I'm good. Is there any other question, discussion?
We, like she said, we've already approved this zoning, and this is off a 4-lane highway. As she read, I mean, they're not asking for any variances. They check all the boxes on our requirements.
Yeah, I'm good.
If nobody has any questions, I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Burdette to approve the second request. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing none no's, it passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
I just
sir.
had to ask that question because I thought event and 5, 6 parking spaces, it just didn't add up to my mind.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. Good to see you.
You too.
Item number 3, consideration to approve the first reading to amend Appendix C, zoning ordinance, Article 3, buffers and code of ordinances. We've had a lot of discussion about this one, but I don't know that we need to go through all that again unless there's some questions from the board. Is there anything you want to review with us?
We made it just like we talked about. There aren't any changes than what we talked about before. We did say that we wanted to make sure that if they had to increase the berm size, that would be on the size of the landowner, not into the, so we've made it that way. We've got allocations for fences if we need to. We did increase the buffer size between residential so that we'd have a little more there because I think 15 feet wasn't quite enough.
And the chart shows from.
And the chart
current
shows from the
zoning
top to the bottom. It's
so
a beautiful
not as
chart.
Not as confusing as it was?
That's right. Now we got to memorize it. So, but it's really a great addition to the ordinance. I know everybody's worked on it. We even, huh?
I see there's a lot in there.
Well, there's a little extra stuff in there, but it was already in the ordinance. Those are just that selection of trees that like Miss Kent can choose from for her buffer, so. And the other thing is, we talked about the maintenance of the the berm. So we went ahead and put in something that Lee can keep track of. We can bond the berms now, and Lee can keep track of those bonds as well. So we just want to make sure that nothing happens to the berm because of the importance that it has.
All right, any other discussion or a motion?
Make a motion to approve alternative 1, isn't it?
Second.
A motion by Mr. Burdette and a second, Mr. Kiefer, but is there any discussion?
I'll ask a question after we do this part, after we vote.
Okay. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously.
So, since our workshop, I've had a couple of developers, mention that, hey, maybe from the roadside, we look at setbacks just from the road. I don't know, I mean, maybe this takes care of that with berm, but it was casual conversations I had, so I just wanted to bring it up. And I know that may be a whole separate conversation one day.
No, so subdivision,
There is a berm in a subdivision.
we're
that you can do
we're
to
addressing
reduce setbacks.
subdivisions side and front on arterials and collectors, and probably doing, I'll call it a mini berm of type, where, with plantings on top to kind of eliminate some of that. And so we're looking at doing that. We're not done with that yet, but it's gonna be real close to you guys seeing it. Okay. Yeah. Were they partial to it, or were just concerned about it?
They just asked how much discussion have we had on actual setbacks? I told them that we really kind of had more conversation on buffers.
Yes.
That we really haven't touched on setbacks, and they were just kind of offering that out as just a suggestion.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't look at setbacks. We feel like there's probably enough right now, but it could be that we increase the setback slightly to make up for the size of the smaller berm.
You're speaking residential in particular, or anything?
Both conversations was more so the residential,
Yeah.
and was more so the road frontage side of the lot.
And I would
But-
think to do the berm, and if they're gonna have a backyard, they're gonna have to create the setback just to have a backyard. I
Correct.
guess. But it probably may be worth codifying.
Because kind of their point of view was, hey, if you start making them set the house further back off the road, it still gives a bigger feel, still maintaining the integrity of the country feel.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm trying to remember, because I just read this recently, this changes you made. We talked about a mini berm for residential that would lower buffers or setbacks, because we're trying to get an aesthetic look. If you go down the road, you're not looking at the back of houses, you're not looking at fences that dilapidate. So if you had a beautiful vegetated small berm, 4 or 5 feet,
Correct.
that, at the line of sight from the road, it kind of hides the whole thing. That's not in this ordinance here, is it?
Subdivision. It's gonna be in the subdivision part, because we are addressing residential there. This addresses the commercial and the industrial part as far as the berms. But the buffers, as far as the size of the buffers, are both residential and commercial and industrial in here.
But not the berms, not in
Not the
this.
little residential
That's what you're
berm.
talking about, you're gonna come
Right,
back with us.
exactly.
Yeah, I'm interested in that, because I think it's gonna really help the aesthetic as well.
That's gonna be wonderful, yeah.
Yeah. And it may
Yeah.
help the developer
So,
too, have more.
so the
property
one on
built.
Courthouse, I can't remember what it's called,
Yeah,
something.
has a nice
Oaks or-
berm, you can't even see this.
You can't see nothing, yeah. The other side looks good too, actually. And then, on 30, Winfield has it as well, and it looks good there as well.
And I've been paying more attention since you mentioned it. It does, the point of reference is important on the berms, because if the road is elevated, that 4 or 5 may not do it,
May not make a difference, yep.
But most of them, we don't have a lot of elevated roads.
But you're gonna address all that and what you come back with us on.
Yep, absolutely.
Sounds good, thank you.
Yes,
See,
thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you for doing that.
Item number 4, consideration to approve the first reading to amend Code of Ordinance Appendix C, zoning ordinance, Article 5, uses permitted in districts, Section 5.1, AR1 agricultural districts.
How about you?
Yes, sir. So this ordinance is a collaboration between staff, the county attorney, and input from agricultural businesses in the county. This ordinance would eliminate the need for obtaining an assemblage permit for an ag business that hosts events on their property. It requires that applicants provide a concept plan and narrative of their business. There is a need within our county for this type of business, and staff has an influx of correspondences for this, and staff recommends approval.
I thought it's a great idea. What does the board think?
Yeah, I think this, I don't know what's going on with my microphone, but I think it's a good idea. I think this definitely checks some boxes for us. I'll try to slip in a zoning approval right here real quick. If y'all just give me a few minutes. I've been talking with Steve here, and I've kind of been talking about this the last couple of years, but I do have a constituent that has been looking at putting in like an abattoir. He'll butcher cattle. It's on the small scale end. It's Andy Zoller, and I think Andy's going about it the right way. He's hired a engineer. He's had conversation with Steve and staff as well. He's wanting to go by the book. He'll be governed by USDA, so it'll be federal. And what he's wanting to do, I don't know if y'all have been over to Hunter Cattle over in Bullitt County. Now, he's not wanting to go on that large scale is what they're doing, but we need to add a kind of a retail piece in here, which I know every time that we do these ordinances or update them, I mean, it's not the finished product every time. I mean, we always add to it or change it over time. But what he's wanting to do is have like a storefront. He's working on pulling some property out of Cuba now. He's talking with Neil Groover about that, to do that the proper way. And it's going to be a smaller scale operation. So we're working with Steve on that now to try to somehow get him in this box. But I think what we have before us, I mean, I think that does help us out on some things.
I'd like to kind of see what you're talking about there. I'm not sure right now, I have to hear more, you'll share more later. Does it fit in agritourism, or does it fit in a different type of zoning? The reason I say that, I thought agritourism was where you had a farm. Nowadays, it can be a struggle. Cotton cannot be as what you want it to be, corn may not be, what it be, but it gives them an opportunity to generate income for an already existing farm. If it's a cattle farm, is there something where maybe they would put it on a cattle farm, add something?
Well, Zollers have.
A cattle farm? Yeah, I have to look more at that, you know, because I do want to help our farmers be able to.
But just bottom line, we're working with him to try to, if it's not here, figure out.
A zoning that would work for something like that, yeah, sounds good. Maybe even conditional use. Okay. All right, any other questions about this particular ordinance we're amending? Do we have a motion to approve alternative one?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Roper to approve alternative one. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no no's, it passes unanimously. Y'all been busy on ordinance improvements, and I appreciate it. Item number 5, consideration to approve the first reading of an ordinance for Chapter 14, Buildings and Building Regulations, Article 8, Unfit Building and Property of Effingham County Code of Ordinances.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, thank you. This is a nuisance ordinance that concentrates on unfit buildings and property. Attorney Newberry has done most of the work on this. We appreciate that very much. I'll simplify it for you the best that I can. So public officials can bring forward a nuisance complaint against the property. 5 citizens can sign a petition to bring forth a complaint for a nuisance if we don't see it or something like that. This ordinance lists on page 5 really what nuisances are. I think everybody pretty well knows what that is. The uninhabitability of the property. This ordinance also gives us the option to require the landowner and or homeowner to clean it up. And it also gives us an option that if they choose not to do that, then we can go there and clean it up at the cost of the homeowner and lay either a lien on them or send them a
Put
bill.
a tax lien on it, and after a year, that tax lien could be enforced.
Yes, that's correct. And so that's what this does. I hope it answers, our concerns about some of the nuisance properties that are across the
It
county.
looked like to me, and I thought it did a good job of writing, I'm not an attorney, but it sounded like the constituents didn't lose their due process, but yet it gave us some teeth to make sure we don't have unsafe life areas that we really need to see cleaned up.
Yes.
I don't know how the board feels. Any other thoughts from the board?
What about timeline, Steve? Once you have a complaint, of course, you guys know which one we're talking about, the burned out trailer that's been there forever, that get a call on once a
That
month.
timeline's in here.
I was just looking for the cliff notes.
I've got 270 days sticks out at me, so it's a little bit of time.
That 270 starts at a certain period. It
Yep.
didn't start from the day of the complaint.
That's right.
It starts from another day. So it's gonna be almost 300 days by the time you get a complaint.
Yeah, there's some administration to it.
Before they
But-
have to address it.
Yeah.
And then they have due process to be heard, even before a judge.
But that's pretty typical. We can't declare it a nuisance on Friday and have it cleaned up on Monday. but
Right,
yeah.
right.
So there will be
It's
some
gotta be
administration.
somebody to work
Yeah.
together,
Yeah,
get it resolved. If you can't get it resolved there, you got due process that can happen after 270 days, and nobody's just gonna be jerked around the next day.
no,
You got an old building on your farm, you got a farm, you got an old building. Well, it might look sort of shabby and all this kind of stuff, but to what extent is it got to be before, the county or somebody does something with it? I mean.
So,
it's-
you know,
it's
we're
in
com-
a man and sell, you
we're
know.
complaint driven, so if we don't get no complaints, I'm not all that worried about it.
If
So-
there's no complaint, there's no problem.
Yeah, there's no complaint, there's no problem.
Yeah, but somebody gets something. against it,
Well,
complain
if
about it,
it's an
I
old
mean,
barn, then we'll take some convincing. Yeah, I mean, this is mainly for habitable, uninhabitable type of
Yeah, I
situations.
think it's where you have, it looked like where there might be some drug activity because it's
Right.
out there and nobody's attending it, and
Yeah.
it's not, or maybe you've got a business you're running out of a place and the roof is falling in and it's dangerous for people.
People
I
don't
mean,
live
there's,
in the neighborhood and they sign
I
that.
don't-
Yeah, 'cause
You don't wanna infringe on people what they own and on their land.
And,
Those old barns work
so,
pretty good for storing hay.
and a lot of farm activities regulated by ag and not by us on some of that stuff anyway, so.
Well, a lot of people have the old barn in the yard or something,
Well.
outbuilding, or it could be.
That's some of the best reclaimed wood in the county.
Huh?
That's some of the best reclaimed wood in the county, get it from that barn.
Well, I think the intent is just to put some teeth where there is a real nuisance.
Problem, yeah.
Not a farmer who has a barn he's been using to store hay in for years, and yes, it may leak a little bit here, but it's,
But this is where we've had issues with certain properties and can't get them to move or do anything.
you may have a
and
burned
it's-
out trailer that's
it's
next to a
actually a-
house and they won't remove it.
It's actually a safety hazard. You know,
Yes.
kids get around there playing.
I know it, but it's their property, and you, first of all, you're not supposed to go on their property. If something
No,
don't
but
have property,
Kinda hard to
it's
tell,
bad, you're not supposed to go on it, 'cause you,
kinda hard to
Not
tell a
your property.
5-year-old that,
huh?
It's kinda hard to tell a 5-year-old that.
What I'm saying,
Yeah,
I understand
some
what
people
you mean.
could take advantage of this.
yeah, hopefully this board and this
Disadvantage,
staff would not
I
do it.
don't think we would do that.
We,
This-
I think it just gives
We got a lot to
teeth.
do.
It gives teeth where there's a real nuisance. is
That's
the
right.
main
And I
thing.
will say that's why the process is so onerous,
Yeah.
right? Is to prevent situations where, you know, and that's why we're limiting this nuisance property to simply unfit buildings and not unfit property, right? So that, you know, we're limiting the scope. We have to go through the due process of it, give them the opportunities, you know, to clean it up or fortify it, or whatever's
Give some
necessary
remedies.
before the county takes any action on it. So it is a very, I think, a very cautious approach when it comes to the county. But right now, you know, the example is that, you know, we've got an out-of-county resident who owns a property that is just simply burnt out, not a situation where it's on a farm, it's on a, I think, believe an R1 piece of property, so it's completely visible. And we've taken them to court. They refuse to show up for court. And there's a bench warrant out for them, but they don't live in the county, so it's very difficult to enforce. And so it stops there, right? This gives us the additional step, you know, of saying, okay, now the county, you know, it can then take action on it.
But is the building hurting anything?
What?
If you go on it, you messing on,
Well, like I said, if it's visible and it's uninhabited, and it's uninhabitable, and a public hazard, then it, you know, then at that point, with 5 people complaining, right? Doesn't take
Public
one
hazard.
neighbor.
you're not supposed to be on his land anyway. It's private property.
Right, and in this case, you know, it's visible. So I understand, it's a property rights
But if you read the ordinance,
debate.
Mr. Loper, there's some things in there that make it a public hazard, like are kids hanging out there on that property because it's not taken care of? And they're
If
trespassing.
there's a reason for it, but just the old house sitting in the middle of the field and nobody's taking care of it, somebody owns that, and as long as it's not hurting nothing, it's his land.
But
And
what if
you
it's-
go on it,
I got you.
you trespass.
I think this stresses that there has to be some activity or some issue that makes that a hazard.
Okay.
You know, and that's what they got to, that's why due process, to figure out, is it truly a hazard or is it just an old house sitting in the middle of a field? It's got to be something more than that.
If it's just sitting there.
Yeah.
Yes, it's not
We're
just a
talking
house
about
sitting in
like
the middle of the field.
a half-acre lot with a burned-out trailer and a junkyard in the middle of the
I've had
neighborhood.
complaints about, well, trailers, and people said it's abandoned and kids are hanging out in it. You know, it's a way to address those type issues.
Yeah, I mean, you can have gangs hang out in those places, you can have drug activity, making drugs, methamphetamines, or whatever you do with this.
Well, go in there and arrest them, they own private property. That's when the police come in.
Tim, will we have to start over with
That's
this
when you
one?
get police to get in there and
Or
get them out.
Can we use
I
what we
think
have?
for a
Private
matter of
property.
a matter of caution, I will discuss that with you, but I would think we might have to.
Perhaps start over.
But
To do what?
Start over from square one with the problem property that we've had. I'm curious, since we've enacted this, or if we do enact this, that we
All
have
right,
to start.
good discussion. I'm going to entertain a motion. We'll either defeat it or approve it and move on. Is there a motion to approve alternative one?
I make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Burdette, second by Mr. Floyd to approve alternative one. All in favor say aye.
Ah.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 6, consideration to approve to amend change order 1 to Pond and Company for Baker Pond improvements. Task order 23-REQ-002.
Sir, good evening. Allison Bruton, purchasing agent. So change order 1 was originally approved in May by the board for 50% of what was requested, so 27,000. Staff's been working with Pond to get this updated and keep the project moving forward. So this amended change order does include a water sewer lift station and force main design, as well as a restroom building expansion design. There's also a credit for well and septic analysis and unexpended restroom design scope items. So the total is 27,500, so only 500 over what was originally approved. And staff recommends alternative
If you
one.
have to design a lift station, that's probably a reasonable price. So we're tying into a force main from that? We're not tying into a gravity flow?
I wish Matt was still here. Do you know? I don't know. Okay.
Crazy to build a lift, have to build a lift, but if it's force main, you gotta have a lift station.
Yeah, we might be tying in. I mean, I'm not sure if there's a line on 21 that we're tying into. I'd have to find out.
The city's got water on that side.
We're getting it from the city.
We're getting it from the city. I was just questioning, I was questioning why gravity flow would be easy.
Yeah.
Be no design for a lift station. That's what's costing this. I just wanna make sure, why are we designing a lift station?
You probably wouldn't need a lift station. It's all right there together.
Well, not if it's gravity flow, you wouldn't need it. I'm just saying,
I'm guessing they're. I mean, I know we've discussed it. I know they've reached out to find out where the tie-in is.
Okay.
And so
Must be.
you
I
have
just-
to
I was
assume
just
that it's a force
surprised.
main.
There is a note in the proposal that it includes included in the utility plans, the water main along Courthouse and McCall Road, indicating valves and fire hydrants is required, and a new meter and backflow preventer. I don't know if that fully answers the question, but
No, that's
that
the
was
water.
But then
Sorry.
that's
part of the
water.
narrative,
But,
yeah.
you know, the reason I asked that question is that there's houses down there. I'm trying to, do they have a lift station for all those houses? Or are they flowing gravity flow into the line?
I'm not sure.
We can approve it, but I would just say, I would
Okay.
check on that to see.
We'll check to
Do
make
you
sure.
have to have because that's the cost. Not only the design, the expense.
However, those 6 houses were built simultaneously, so I don't know if they were built by the same
Septics?
builder. So I don't know if they were built with the.
They might be on septic.
They might be either. They could, and they're big lots, so they could be on septic, but they could also, since they were built simultaneously by the same builder, have a lift station.
Okay.
I just don't know.
Yeah, I'd check that before we.
It does
ship a
also
check for
say-
27,000, because then you gotta build the crazy thing. It's gonna be twice that to build it.
Well, and I'll also say kind of the biggest thing on here is the biggest savings of money is we basically went out there and said, if we gut this, if this pavilion / bathroom building and kind of, rebuilt it with a structure, how could we save money? And that's where the big money saving was.
That's good
We're not
savings.
building a new building. We're leaving it at the same place. We're not doing superficial improvements. We're just kind of new bathrooms in the existing facility, existing pipes and locations. So we should be good.
I'm gonna ask one more question, then I'll call for a motion. I'd like for you to check that and come back, report, so I can tell the board if we need to look at another route, even though we're approving this change on now. Because it seems like if you use a septic system, you got a lot of land out there versus a force main, because you don't have a lot of bathroom use at Baker Pond at any one time. This is just for Baker Pond.
This is for Baker Pond, right?
Seems like a septic system would be a whole lot cheaper than a lift
So
station.
we could. I know the septic systems would have to be, the one right there is not adequate. We're running in problems with it right now.
I know, but
we
for
could look to
27,000,
see
you could
if-
build one without
Yeah.
having to design if you put 27 in the design, you put 50 to 75,000 in the lift station, $100,000, build a pretty darn good septic
You have to
system.
have a big lift station, not just for the use over there. You put one like we got over there at the dog pen on 21, pumping to that thing got a lift station in it.
Are you taking that?
Yeah, it'd probably be cheaper
Just
if we
let me
could
know.
do septic.
I just
I
think,
just wouldn't want to put in something big enough that that other people benefit from. We need to make sure
Yeah,
we're not bearing the costs. That will be my.
I
I'll look
was
into it.
surprised. If you could look at that, we can move forward to change order, because you can answer that question next couple of days, and if we need to put a stop to it, I can reach out to some commissioners, see what you think. But
Or we
I
could
can see
approve.
$100,000 cost
That's
here
fine,
for
we can
this,
approve it
in my
as
mind,
is and then change
time
it.
you get it designed and built.
I was gonna say only 6,000 of it is for that portion of the
No, that's
design.
fine, we just approve it
Okay.
all.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll have a motion to approve the change order.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr. Floyd. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. If you just get the information, we'll see if there's any hiccups we need to look at. Item number 7, consideration to approve memorandum of understanding with Effingham County and City of Pooler Fire Rescue.
Yes, sir. So the City of Pooler and Effingham EMS are requesting approval of the MOU. This will allow City of Pooler fire rescue personnel to ride along with EMS. This agreement's been reviewed and approved to form by the county attorney as well as City of Pooler. Staff recommends alternative 1.
I know I'm full of questions tonight, and I apologize, but the one concern is the liability, and I saw they're gonna provide insurance.
I
Maybe
believe
the-
so, yes. I haven't read through the whole
They
thing
are,
recently, so
but maybe the attorney can answer this for us. Are we gonna be named somehow that we, so that that policy gets canceled, we would know it if it wasn't paid, or, I mean, they present us a document saying that we're protected, but 6 months from now, they don't pay the premium, would we be notified?
We can definitely ask them for that, yes. If it's not already in there, we can.
That's a stipulation I would ask that we put in this then. Is that okay to add that to the MOU? You understand my concern is, yeah, they say they're gonna insure them, but 4 months from now, they don't pay the premium. We're not notified, we don't know it, then an accident happens for my person we're training, and then we got this liability with no insurance. Yeah.
It says that they're supposed to procure and maintain the insurance, but we can clarify
We
that
ha-
with them.
How do we know they've
Right.
maintained
We'll
it?
clarify that.
When you're named an additional insurer, they're responsible to note, that insurance company is responsible to notify you when the policy.
Correct. And that's what, Lee, you're gonna make sure they do that with this? So, I'll entertain a motion to approve alternative 1 with the caveat that our attorney make sure that we're named as additional insured or whatever it takes to make sure we are notified if they don't pay the premium. Okay?
It should cover it.
Or change it. Okay. So is there a motion for that?
So moved.
Motion, Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr. Loper, is that right?
Yeah, that's good.
I thought I heard you say something. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Okay. Item number 8, consideration to approve change order number 1 for McWright LLC for contract 23-ITB-031.
Yes, sir. So this is for the renovation and expansion of the EMS headquarters as well as construction of the prison maintenance building. So far, McWright has submitted 4 change order requests since the beginning of the construction. Request 1 was denied by the county. So what's in front of you are requests 2, 3, and 4, which have been reviewed by staff and Allbeck Group, and staff recommends alternative 1.
Have one comment. Sorry about that.
Come
We're
on.
funding it with SPLOST, and this is a countywide building EMS service.
Prison
I
maintenance
would
as
like
well.
for us to look at not funding countywide stuff through our portion of SPLOST, which can be spent on unincorporated.
Are we doing this with countywide SPOS?
I think this is coming from the.
It said funding was SPLOST. Oh, is it coming from the countywide portion, the 20%?
Yeah, yeah. The bond, it's coming, we bonded the countywide portion
Right,
of
but is it
it.
coming,
And so
okay.
that's where those funds are coming from.
So we bonded just the 20%?
Yes, that's all the city's allowed us to do is the
Okay,
countywide
so it is
portion.
coming from the 20%. I'm good, very good. All
I
right,
could try
motion
to
approve
clarify that
alternative
on
1?
future
Good
staff
answer,
reports,
Mark.
too.
That's why you get paid the big bucks. I just saw funded from SPLOST, I'm thinking, man, we need to make sure that the cities help pay for this, and they are. It's a good job, appreciate it. Motion for alternative 1?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Roper for alternative 1. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Item number 9, consideration to approve a scheduled maintenance agreement with Southeastern Laundry Equipment Sales for Effingham County Prison.
Yes, sir. So this agreement includes quarterly multi-point inspections and service visits for the laundry over at the Effingham County Prison, which is also utilized by the jail as well. And this will provide a proactive approach to the equipment maintenance and help avoiding downtimes on the machines. The county will be billed $625 for each service visit, and there are 5 units currently over there, which would be included in this agreement. Staff recommends alternative one.
Question, discussion, or motion for alternative one?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second Mr. Roper for alternative one. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously.
And number 10, I want to table that until the next meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to table by Mr. Roper, second by Mr. Deloach. All right, any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to discuss why we're tabling.
Yeah, I'd like to know the reason for wanting to table it.
I want to check some records that happened years ago with this same thing. I want some more time to do some checking on it.
Okay. All right, if the board will vote for it, that's fine. My concern is I do appreciate the fact that we're going with the federal rates versus our old rates. I think the breakfast was, I couldn't even get I got a parfait and a coffee at my last meeting. It was $12. I think currently we get like $7 or something.
Yeah.
But it doesn't cover just a parfait, much less a breakfast.
And
that was the idea of it. You still would like to table it to do some research? Okay. We have a motion and a second, so I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor of tabling this item until, what's the date? November 7th.
That's fine.
All in favor of table, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it's unanimous. It'll be tabled to November 7th. Item number 11, consideration to approve an update to Human Resources Standards of Practice 3.04, hours of work, Section C, overtime. Number 9, exempt employees.
Good evening, everyone. Sarah Mousoff, Director of Human Resources and Risk Management. So after a workshop and the retreat where we've kind of brought this topic up, we would like to update just this section. So you have what is current policy was attached, and then you have the draft, and it was highlighted, just the part we're changing or suggesting, as long as you guys approve tonight. Basically, we're going to keep the admin leave payout at the 80 hours maximum. We would like to allow exempt employees to use their admin leave earned instead of regular PTO if they have over that additional 80 hours. So there are some employees that have 100, almost 200. IT, I think one year you guys had almost 300 hours admin earned. So currently, we do the 80 hours payout, and after that, we're just wiping off the books. And so to employees like that who can't really take time off and they are required to work emergencies, whether it's overnight, weekends, you know, it's just kind of a way to let them use that because they have earned it, you know. We are also recommending that admin leave earned could only be used for 3 consecutive days, so it's not intended to actually replace a full week, which is what your PTO is for. So just kind of throwing that stipulation in there. And then we would like to also remove the requirement of taking 40 hours of PTO to actually get the leave payout benefit where you could cash it out. Because again, there are certain people like county manager who really doesn't get to take a full week vacation, you know? So we kind of would like to eliminate that.
However, there's one control issue there.
Okay.
Just make the board aware of this from the audit side.
Mm-hmm.
Many times managerial staff need to be required to be out of the office for at least a week. I can't tell you as an auditor how many times we found things because Steve was gone for a week and we found the underhanded table work he was doing because he couldn't hide it for the week he was gone. Or the managers got side things or IT. I mean, I know we got honest employees, but the auditors will tell you from control side, everyone that's in a managerial position should have at least a week off. In banking, it's like 2 weeks, isn't it?
It's mandatory. We have at least 5 consecutive days.
Days. And so I'm not sure that we need to, if this approval tonight is going to look at not requiring a vacation.
No. It's just to get the payout.
You can still, what I think, if you wanted to address that, this really wouldn't affect that at all. What I would say is that we then add another line in another section of under vacation, saying that certain positions, right? You know, obviously Mark's position, my position, you know, we can think of, we can look to see what
The
other.
director level of management.
Yeah, you know, what other jurisdictions are doing, that there are certain positions that we can require at one point during the year, at least 5 consecutive days off are taken.
Yeah, if it didn't affect that, I just heard it say, because our manager can't get a week's vacation.
Right.
My flag went up. Well, we need to make sure, as much as we need you here 360 days a year, we need to, for your own health and for the health of the county, to make sure there's that 5 consecutive day where he's not in the office and doesn't return to the office for those 5 days. It's good
Yeah, I
for
think
him and
that
it's
should
good
be a
for us.
fairly simple thing we can get on the next agenda.
All right, if you
under
work on that,
vacation.
I'm good. I just heard that, my flag went up. My audit,
Yeah.
mine went
I
up.
appreciate that insight, yeah.
Okay. All right, any other question, discussion, or motion for alternative one?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr. Deloach to approve alternative one. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 12, consideration to approve an engagement letter between Effingham County Board of Commissioners and Lanier Deal Proctor and Blosser for audit services for fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023.
Good afternoon, Mark Barnes, Finance Director again. Staff recommends approving the engagement letter with Lanier Deal Proctor and Bloser for audit services for fiscal year 2023.
And
This is the standard audit engagement letter for this year's audit. The county went out to bid for audit services last year. This firm that we had been using for a little while, they were the winning bid. The rates for fiscal year 2023 are the same as their rates for fiscal year 22, so there's no increase in that. Staff recommends alternative number 1, approve the audit engagement letter.
I'll make a motion to approve alternative one.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Burdette to approve alternative one. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Item number 13, consideration to approve resolution 23-026 to amend the fiscal year 23 budget.
Yes, sir. Staff recommends approval of the fiscal year 2023 budget amendment. This amendment is the end-of-year amendment for fiscal year 2023. It's divided into 2 parts, the general fund and then the special funds. The general fund overall came in approximately $1.3 million under budget for fiscal year 23. Now, the audit is going to be ongoing, and so, you know, there could be adjusting entries, so that's a preliminary number. But there is no new funding for the general fund in this amendment. It's just a reallocation of existing funding. Most of the savings in this year were due to personnel, you know, vacancies that we had throughout the year. And the reallocation of the funding for the general fund is requested for some of the larger items such as jury fees, court reporter fees, inmate medical costs, which did increase with the changeover to the new company this year, and other items like the EMS vehicle maintenance costs and those things. The special funds, some of those do have additional budget. Some of those were like the OpenGov software implementation and development services that was approved earlier in the year. Some of the increased sanitation curbside collections due to new housing, the Cowan water infrastructure agreement that was approved earlier in the year, and some other items. Most of those increases in the special funds are offset by increased revenues coming in above budgets. But
Do we have any department that exceeded 10% increase over their budgeted expenditures?
the court services department, which doesn't have a department head, but that's the one where all the court fees from the Superior Court are coming from, court reporters, jury duties, a lot of that's kind of dictated by the Ogeechee Circuit. I think that one was a little bit over. I'm not sure if it's quite that percentage, but
'Cause that's the level that the state requires us to, for
yes.
the auditors to note it. Is we always amend our budget to make sure we don't have that, or they'll reject our audits.
Right.
I wonder why we amend our budgets if people are under budget. Seems like that'd be a good thing to show that we budgeted this, but we didn't spend it.
The way our policies are written right now, within each department, there's the categories of personnel, services, and supplies, and then capital. We have to have those categories. Even if their bottom line overall, they are under budget, one of those categories may be over, and we have to rectify that. Because that's the legal level of control that
Well,
we
our
have.
legal level is
Inside the
is-
department.
Is personnel, operating, and capital.
Yes, sir,
not
inside that,
department.
right.
I got you.
And now, I think a lot of counties do use the department level, and that would address the situation you're talking
So
about.
this budget amendment is addressing those three levels.
Right.
Okay. Any other question or discussion?
I looked over it, looked like everything's pretty straightforward. I'll make a motion to approve alternative one.
Motion by Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Loper. For alternative one, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Item number 14, consideration to approve to amend fiscal year 2024 UGA Extension Office Personnel Contract.
Yes, sir. The UGA Extension Office met with County Manager and HR, and they did request to have a part-time position that was originally scheduled for 19 hours, go up to 29 hours. And so they requested this amendment come before y'all. It's gonna cost about, on an annual basis, about $15,000 a year. It won't be quite that much because we're already partially through the fiscal year. Staff recommends alternative number one, approve the personnel agreement amendment.
Discussion or motion?
Make a motion to approve order number one.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second Mr. Deloach. For alternative one, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item number 15, consideration to approve a petition for annexation as submitted by the City of Springfield for property located at 1810 Georgia Highway 21, map number 410, parcel number 15.
We have another annexation for the city of Springfield, and as you can see, based on the aerial photography, it is the only parcel that stands out there in that area on Highway 21. The address is 1810 on Georgia Highway 21. It's just down from BB Road.
Down from what road?
BB Road, just out in Springfield, next to the Mexican restaurant, near the Mexican restaurant, on the opposite side.
Hmm?
And
Right next to the
she
entrance
didn't
of the park.
zoom in
Huh?
very,
It's just prior to the entrance of the park.
Yeah, it's just past the
On
entrance
the
of the
Lincoln
park.
side of the entrance to the park.
So,
Okay.
so if you pass the entrance of the park, it's the second parcel in. First one's vacant. This is that house.
Is that 131.7 the park?
Yes.
yes,
Okay, all right. So it's contiguous anyway.
it is.
Okay. Any question, discussion?
Make a motion to approve alternative one.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Deloach, second by Mr. Who made second?
Loper.
Mr. Loper. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Number 16, consideration to approve a property exchange between the Board of Commissioners of Effingham County and Kildare Land Company LLC.
Yes, sir. This is related to the Baker Park. It's not really related necessarily to any of the work that's being done on it, but the property that is to the north of Baker Park, which, and that property abuts 21. I believe that's recently been rezoned and it's been annexed into City of Springfield, or it's going to be. The county owns, and we did not realize we owned it until it came up in the transfer land, a tiny corner of property in between where Courthouse Road meets McCall and 21. That property has ditches around 3 of the sides on it, so it's a useless piece of property for us. You can't really do anything
Great
with
place
it.
to put a campaign sign.
Yeah, that's right.
A lot of
Good
traffic.
place for a campaign sign,
Yeah.
or one of the neighborhoods
Garage sale.
sells their stuff from that corner. So the owner of the property approached us. I did let him know during the process of us, during the renovation and coming up with a plan, there's a very tight buffer between the trail system and that next property. And so I said the county would be interested in increasing the size of that buffer. And so I spoke with the county attorney on it. He said if there was appraisals done on each piece of property, and so long as the appraisals show that the property that we are receiving is worth more or the same than the property that we are jettisoning, we could do an exchange. so long as we advertise it for 10 days after this meeting, after it was approved by the board. And so that's what we're doing right now,
Okay, any questions or discussion?
recommending alternative one.
Make a motion to approve order number one.
Motion by Mr. Loper, second by Mr. Deloach to approve alternative one. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no. Hearing no nos, it passes unanimously. Good
Mr.
reports.
Chairman, just one, I guess real quick. It's gonna need to run for 4 weeks.
Oh, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll close within, I think we have to do it within 2 weeks of that. And so just, I know you just voted, but I don't see the action item, so, you know, if authority's not in there to give you authority to sign the deed when we get to that point. So yeah, if you don't mind, revise that motion to not only authorize you or the vice chair, whoever's available, to sign the deed, but also so we can pay the cost of the appraisal and,
The cost related to the transfer.
correct, yeah.
Okay. Mr. Loper, you made the motion. Would you accept that it approve the chairman or the vice chair to sign the deed and for the county to assume the cost for the transfer?
Yes.
Mr. Loach, you agree?
Yes.
Motion and second have agreed. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
So that motion is amended for that way, okay? And we go to our reports from Commissioner and Administrative Staff. We'll start with Administrative Staff. Tim, you got anything for us?
Yes, I have an update on everything from the retreat, which I'm just going to email out to you because it's lengthy. It just kind of shows you where we are on the schedule of all items we discussed, and some of them obviously were addressed tonight, but when the other items will be addressed. So we're working. I'll get that out to you via email.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
Anything from any other staff? From our clerk?
Yes, sir. Couple things. Your EOM monthly report was emailed to you. Parker's is having their ribbon cutting for their new store on Highway 21, Columbia Street at 11 a.m. on Thursday, if you're able to attend.
I didn't understand.
The new Parker's gas station in
Oh,
Blue Jay,
okay,
21.
okay.
Reminder for the next meeting, you have pictures, so wear your best outfits.
Yes, that's the one I gotta wear a tie for, right?
That's the one you'll need to wear a tie for. That's at 3:30 before our meeting.
At what?
Pictures at 3:30.
3:30.
All of this is on your weekly calendar as well. And I think we discussed this last meeting, consideration to cancel our December 19th meeting because it's at the week of Christmas. That will be on your next agenda.
Okay. Now, I saw on that calendar that we were contemplating canceling a meeting in November, the Thanksgiving meeting. Is that
That meeting's on the,
21st or something, or?
I think it's that late.
21st, yeah.
It's on the 21st.
Yeah.
Yes, it is on the 21st.
But I'd like, if we're gonna cancel a meeting in December, I'd personally like to, we got so much going on, I'd like to have that meeting, if it's okay, because it doesn't really conflict with Thanksgiving, Thursday and Friday. So,
December or November?
November. I just saw on our calendar that we would maybe discuss that meeting as well, but I'd kind of like to keep that meeting. Yeah, because I hate to miss two meetings. And I think if we're gonna choose one, be with our family on extended time, the December would be the better meeting.
More apt to be traveling on Christmas, you know.
Kids are out of school and all. That's just my 2 cents. We can still discuss it next meeting if you want to look at that, but I was gonna bring that up. Okay, anything else? Stephanie, thank you so much. Anything from our Board of Commissioners? We'll go around the horn.
I don't have anything.
Okay,
Early voting started yesterday. Somebody forgot.
I need
Put
to-
that piece in the Herald about the, T1 tax.
T-Splosh?
In the Herald, there's an ad there about this high and about this long, and they take a Philadelphia lawyer to read it.
On what tax?
On T1 Splosh.
Transportation, T-Splosh.
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 An advertisement?
Yeah.
Wouldn't us. I don't think so.
Unless it was something that legally had to be advertised.
Yeah, it's probably the legal ad that needs to run. That's probably what you're referring to. Took up about a quarter of the page.
Yeah.
We're required to run it.
That's the Board of Elections. Once we do the call for referendum, that's the required advertisement. The size, the font size, all of that is determined by state law.
This one, I read it, but I don't have to go to Legion.
Yeah.
You have to explain it to me, because I didn't make nothing out of it.
Yeah.
And if that's what they voting on, they wouldn't get very many votes, because when they come to that, you know, go around it.
Well, that's why we gotta, hopefully our chamber and those, are getting the message out, how T-Splosh is allowing a, rollback of a millage this year. It provides the money for much needed infrastructure, so we don't have to increase
It
taxes.
didn't have none of that in it, it was just,
Well, that cannot advertise for it. It can only state the fact of what
Yeah.
it is. So,
it was a terrible thing, but he said they had to put it in there.
we just need our chamber and our folks to step up and communicate the good things that are gonna happen, that have happened and are happening and will happen with T-Splosh. How it keeps us at the lowest millage of all the counties in our area, coastal in the area. I've been talking with Tim today about some ideas that I've got. We gotta make sure we get the message out. Phil?
No, I appreciate the help on those trees. 2 trees in my district that were trimmed that were apparently a hazard issue. Appreciate that. That's it.
I do have a request for a very short executive session, if we could.
Oh, man. All right, we're gonna go in executive session. If you need to use the restroom before we go there, it's fine. Do I have a motion to go in executive session, discuss personnel, property, and pending litigation?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kiefer, second by Mr. Deloach. All in favor say aye. Any opposed, no. We are in executive session. Staff can be dismissed.
Favorite topic.